Anecia, what is Pilates so that we can have a better comprehension of what it all entails in its entirety?
Okay, so it's a low impact exercise system that targets body awareness and your strength and your flexibility.
I see. I see. So quickly before you continue, we're gonna take a very, very short break so that both you and I can run to the loo, grab a glass of water, and then you and I will see each other right after this very short ad break. If you have just tuned in and absolutely just joined us, you are absolutely right on time, right on schedule to catch your favorite rendezvous right here on the Voga Breakfast Show, brought to you by the Blanco Network. This is, of course, where radio meets TV, and you'll always be hanging out with me, the one and only MOOCEE Mester. My name is Musi Mester, and I'm so happy to be both in your presence and your company. The time right about now is 42 minutes past the hour 8 o'clock. That's almost 15 minutes before the hour 9 o'clock on the 6th of May on a Tuesday morning. So before the break, we were jumping into the conversation about Pilates with Anecia Wood. Anecia, please tell me quickly, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Sorry?
Wood.
Oh, Wood. Wood. I'm very wary about it. I'm very wary. So you were just explaining before the break that Pilates is a low maintenance exercise.
Yes, it's low energy. It strengthens the core and flexibility.
Yeah. So how did you, as Anecia, get into Pilates? What inspired you to jump into the space of Pilates? I mean, there's yoga, there's running, there's all sorts of exercises, there's training and going to the gym. Why Pilates? What motivated you and propagated you to go into the space of Pilates training?
Well, I actually had my parents recently went on pension, and seeing older people doing nothing, the mobility deteriorates. So this is something I feel you can continue on doing until you're at the age of retiring and retirement. So, and it keeps you supple and the most mobility going. So that is why I felt at some point, if you do training, you can only do so much as you age, and this is definitely something you can just continue, and there's no high intensity.
I see. Very, very, very interesting. So let's say for someone like me who hasn't been active for quite some time, right? I come to Anecia and I'm like, I want to get into Pilates, but I don't understand how it will benefit me physically and psychologically and all of those things, right? What would you, or how would you tailor a session for me on a day-to-day basis, or however often you and I would jump into our sessions? What are some of the things that you go into so that you tailor my session to be suitable and functional for me?
Yes, so there's obviously your beginner stretches. I think that is where we'll start at first, and then you can obviously then work on the reps. We'll work on 5 because the stretches can be intense. So it's similar to, you're going to start with your core exercises like your crunches, and we'll do 10 instead of 12, something like that. So, but then there's beginner exercises that I would start with.
Yeah, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Look, man, I mean, I think we've heard quite a few times the term Pilates used in movies and on TV and on social media and all those kinds of things, right? But how do you differentiate yoga to Pilates to personal training to gym instructing and all of those things? Because I feel like, or I could be wrong, and I assume that they all fall under the same umbrella of exercising, but they all have different specifications that differentiate them and make them, stand out from each other. So how would you describe it to someone who is wanting to get into the space of exercising?
So Pilates is a combination of stretches based on your ballet. So you can just imagine what that would take. For instance, a ballet dancer, where yoga is more intense and you hold the position you're in. That is the difference. So I would say definitely more, a little bit more of flexibility to the point where we're doing a play, if that makes sense.
Mm, mm. I feel like I really would want to just observe one of your sessions with a client of yours, because it would be so intriguing to see you work and try to see what it actually entails in person, physically, so look, we all have different styles in the different spaces that we're involved in terms of how we teach it and how we relay the information that is in the space that one would be involved in. So as Anecia, as an individual, how do you now approach your teaching style, the philosophy behind what you are teaching? What is the style and the philosophy that is you are based on when you walk into a session with a client?
So I feel like most of us can do anything. So for me, it just takes like to get the person to see that he can be able to do anything. And so I also work with the mind. A mind is a very strong thing, and it gets you out of, you can make it grow. So that is also for me important, is to be like your psychiatrist in helping you getting to be the better you, the best version of yourself.
Yeah, yeah. It's intriguing. I promise you. I feel like I really hope that some time in the future you can actually physically come into the studio, and we can have like a 2 to 5 minute session so that you can actually show us what it means. Because watching videos and seeing it on TV is one thing, but actually doing it in person, I think would give me and someone else who's watching and listening there at home a better understanding of what it entails. So let's now talk about people who have special needs, I guess, for lack of a better word. There's senior citizens who would like to stay, loose, I guess, for lack of a better word, or want to exercise and not be stiff. Because with age, there also comes, a sense of stiffness and not being able to do some of the things that you were able to do physically with your body in your younger years. So now, have you worked with senior citizens or prenatal individuals who would want to come into the space and say, I don't want yoga and gym instructing and all of those things. Those are slightly a bit more intense, like you just mentioned. I want something, easy to do, but also something that will work and be beneficial for me. So have you worked with someone like that? And how do you approach a session like that where I would perhaps come to you as a prenatal individual?
So I haven't worked with prenatal. I have worked with people that has had injuries, especially to the spine, and that is also something that I wanted to mention, that Pilates is also focused on the spine. I would say most of it is focused on the spine, stacking the spine, and be cautious of your spine, because I would say 80% of all of us struggle with our lower back. So I have worked that have lower back problems and fusions. And then there's modifications you do with the exercises. You can use a small towel, even a barrel, or a small yoga Pilates ball. So you do get your stuff that you can work, like your Pilates rings. All those things can help you modify exercises, which will make it better for aging people, senior citizens, and even then people with back problems and fusions.
Mm, mm. So I mean, the body. There's a statement that's always been said that the body remembers, right? And what we do to our bodies in our younger years, we will absolutely remember, or the body will remember it when we get older. And we often suffer from different injuries that we might not have anticipated as we go on our day-to-day lives. You might have bumped into a corner of a table, or might have ran into a wall or something. I don't know. I don't know. So with all of those things comes injuries now. How do you approach injuries? Like you just mentioned that quite a whole lot of us, experience back pain at some point in our lives, right? And some form of pain somewhere else in our body. So how do you now approach injuries when you have clients that have succumbed or experienced injuries in different parts of their bodies, and you want to tailor their session to suit them and hopefully in the future help them overcome that pain or that injury?
Yes, so obviously, I've worked with people that have a neck fusion, for instance, and then some of the stretches you need to lift your back. So what we do, your neck. So what we do is we use a small barrel, or you can even hold onto his neck. So having a neck fusion, you can't really. That is what it is, you know. But then, other than that, you can do stretches that does not involve the arm if potentially he did injure the elbow, or there's stretches you can do with your bands that can work that through. And then later on, you can then incorporate the normal thing or take it from a beginner and then intermediate and advanced stretches.
Mm, mm. So with you personally, your background, because I mean, you did mention that growing up, you saw that there was a gap that needed to be filled, right? And so that's how you got into it. But in terms of your training now, personally, before you got to a point where you could also train others and teach all that has to do with Pilates, what's your personal background with physical exercises and Pilates in its entirety?
So I don't know. I started off with strength training, and then I got addicted to that. And then I saw the benefits of working with Pilates because I struggle with my lower back, squatting too heavy, and so that relieves pain for me as well. So I am a specimen of telling people that this truly works, because that is definitely something that I struggle with, is lower back because of the heavy strength training.
Mm. So is this something that you would encourage a day-to-day Tom, Dick, and Harry, or someone like me who's in the space of broadcasting and radio presenting and entertainment? Can I walk into a session and say, look, Anecia, I want to start being into the space of Pilates? How do I go about it? What is the advice, or what route or path should I take as someone who's never, or probably hasn't done it in quite some time, hasn't been physical and hasn't stretched or trained in quite some time? How would you describe or give me the best path to follow and take to get to a point where now I'm well versed in the space of Pilates?
So when you have your typical class, the instructor will always do a beginner's exercise, a session, and then she would mention for the intermediate or the advanced, you can try and do this or that, whatever applies to the stretch. So you would be perfectly fine. You will feel it the next day, but then I would suggest to at least do 2 to 3 sessions a week, just to kind of get into that, and for your body to build that muscle memory, like you mentioned before. Your body remembers. It should be in your routine at least 2 to 3 times a week, but you will be fine class because it's mainly based on beginners, and then the one leading the class will say, look, advanced can try this or that.
Yeah. It sounds so intriguing, I promise you. I would want to be in at least one session, in my life. So maybe I could also get to a point where I get addicted to it. Like you mentioned that you started off with strength training and you eventually got addicted to it. So Anakohai, perhaps you're wondering who I am in conversation with. She says that she would like to believe that she's a very simple girl from Klerksdorp. She was an avid athlete throughout her school years and a gold medalist in field. After high school, Anecia gained a lot of weight, not being active and eating way too much. She wanted a quick fix and ended up, rewarding herself with food. Long story short, she has been through it all, restricting herself, beginning and having bulimia. she landed a decent job and decided to start training with a personal trainer. She joined in 2014 and has been training the same gym ever since. She says, I still had to change my eating patterns, and through some research, got introduced to intuitive eating. In 2019, I got accredited with Trifocus as a personal trainer and recently a Pilates coach. It has been a journey. It has been a journey that one I promised myself I won't half-ass. I love that. I love that so much. So quickly, before we close off, there's a lot of influences that we have as individuals in society as we go on our day-to-day lives, and social media plays such a huge role. I mean, before the break, with the team here in studio, talking about how AI is getting to a point that it's getting to make quite a lot of us obsolete, right? How do you then stay up to date with all these trends and styles and influences that we see on a day-to-day basis on social media and on TV? And one would say, Anecia, I mean, come on, man, Pilates is an old thing. Like, why are you still doing that? So how do you stay up to date with all of those things that we experience on a day-to-day basis?
So, well, I used to suck with my social media. So I feel there is clients outside there that need the one-on-one, and that is what I'm aiming at, is building that relationship in person and not really relying on AI. So yes, building the relationship, getting to know people, because there are people outside that need that one-on-one, that can't do it through getting everything from AI or whatever it may be. It's that one-on-one. Yes.
Yeah. So now let's talk challenges now. I mean, as someone who comes from a background and a childhood of being an athlete and being active, and then years later having to go back to it now, I'm sure there's been a number of challenges that you've gone through. Let's talk about some of those and how you overcame them to get to the point that you are at right now.
So I am from a family. My dad used to be a Springbok athlete, so he was always pushing us to be, I did field and my brother did track, and but then when after school there was the eating that I had to kind of, get work through. It's a process. It's a process. But then also I had TB in 2011. So that was something that I had to kind of, like, I didn't know what it was. So I would say that was something that was a big obstacle in my life. And then later on, falling pregnant and then having this TB made some disease on my lung. I had a piece of my lung removed while being 4 months pregnant. And I think at the end of the day, you just have to, let go. They say, flow, don't chase. That is what I had to do, and it was a big mind shift, and like I said, it's a process, and you only can work through it.
Mm. Your story is fascinating. I promise you. I'm sure there's someone out there watching right now, saying, hopefully I can jump into a session with Anecia sometime soon. I'm personally one of those people. I really hope that you can one day come to the studio so that we can have, that 5 minute or 10-minute session so that we can get into it physically and see what it entails. So, with all of these things that you've gone through, what has been the most rewarding thing now, from strength training, to recently getting your certification? What has been the most rewarding thing about being in the space of, physical training and exercising, and ultimately getting to a point where you are now a certified Pilates instructor?
Yes, so coming from a small town, like I grew up believing that you have to hold on to the little that you have. But I have a very great partner that taught me to, just take the step, just take the step. It seems hard, sure, it's going to be hard, but once you take that step, it's very rewarding. And I think for me, I never understood. I felt like being successful, you have to have this amount of money, but just doing what get, what I've studied for, just to do that every day, to get to, it's the most rewarding thing for me. And yes, taking the step, just take the damn step.
I love it. So I'm reading here, before we close off very quickly, that there are 6 Pilates principles. It says here there is concentration, control, centering, precision, breath, and flow. So how do you integrate all those 6? If it is true, you will tell me, you'll correct me, of course. But how do you integrate the 6 Pilates principles into both group sessions and, of course, individual sessions? Because I'm sure there are quite a few dynamics that differentiate the two. So how do you integrate all of those to make it beneficial for all the clients that you come across?
I mean, in every session, you need to use all 6 of those, because as you maybe lift, you have to inhale. As you go down to the ground, you have to exhale. So with each exercise, all 6 of those does come into play.
Yeah. Very, very cool stuff, man. Very cool stuff. I mean, this is what you do right here on the Vuga Breakfast Show. We get to learn so much about different things. And today we are in conversation with Anecia Wood, who is a certified Pilates instructor. So, in closure, how would I reach out to you if I want to get in touch with you? And I want us to go through a session, or I want to book a session with you and have a continuous session that you will make it beneficial for me and get to a point where I'm loose and I know how to stretch and all of those things. How do I go about it? From social media? Is there an email? Is there a phone number? And all of those things.
Yes, before I get to that, I just want to say that, like most of you know, before you train, you need to warm up, and afterwards, you need to stretch. So that is also why Pilates is important. And you can always follow the 3-2-1 rule, which means that you're going to do 3 strength exercises, 1 Pilates, and 1 cardio. So you still do your stretching. And then, yes, my website, anecia.co.za, that's the easiest. It's linked to my WhatsApp, and then we can definitely set a session up. I do free trials, which means 1 free session, just to see if that is something that you would like to do and to work with me.
I love it. I love it. Anecia, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us, and give us a bit more knowledge and information when it comes to the space of Pilates. And hopefully, like I said, I'm really, really crossing my fingers and hoping that you can come through to the studio someday so that we can have that 5 to 10 minute session, so that we can actually see what it means and what it entails being, in a session with someone like you who's certified and has been doing it for the longest of time. So we appreciate and we hope that you will have an amazing rest of the day. Thank you, Anecia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've only recently got accredited, so I do hope that I.
Yeah, but I'm sure you're amazing. Because, I mean, from how you have been, describing it and talking about it, you can actually hear that you're someone who's well versed in it and knows what they're talking about. You're not just swinging a bat in the dark and wanting to see where it will land. So I really hope that, someone can reach out to you and maybe have a client of yours who can give us feedback as to what your session looks like and how has it helped them in their own personal lives. So, but with that being said, thank you, Anecia, and we hope to chat with you very soon again in the future.